Iran has slowly been pushing up the limits placed upon it to delay its operation in developing nuclear weapons. Now, in July last year, Iran had breached the uranium enrichment level of 3.67% by moving it up to 4.5%. Now, the following month, Iran had also breached the uranium stockpile limit. It had about 241 kilograms of uranium stocks, as opposed to 202.8 kilograms agreed as per the deal. In September, Iran began installing advanced centrifuges at the Natanz fuel enrichment plant, and as per the deal, Iran was only allowed to use first-generation centrifuges. But in November last year, the Iranian President Hassan Rouhani has said that the centrifuges at the Fordov plant would be injected with uranium gas. This converted the plant into an active atomic site rather than a research facility. And for more on this, we are joined in by Kate Fisher, who is joining us live from Washington. So, Kate, good morning to you. And this of course, is a significant development. Now, the United States, one would believe, was, of course, expecting a response. And the Iranians are slowly calibrating in terms of what they would like to do. We saw a cyber attack that took place on one of the lesser-known U.S. websites. And now this announcement that they will completely disengage from the nuclear deal of 2015. How is this being viewed in Washington?
Well, it's certainly not an ideal situation for the Americans, but I think they probably expected a strong response. The Iranians have said that they will no longer put abide by any caps or levels on the amount of uranium they enrich and how much it is enriched. They will also invest heavily once again in research and development. So all this brings them closer more quickly to getting a nuclear weapon. However, they have said that they will continue to allow the United Nations Nuclear Agency to monitor what they are up to, but they have said they will allow their scientists to go ahead and not pay heed to any of those clauses on enrichment levels that were in the Iran nuclear deal. Also, some reaction in Washington to the decision by Iraqi lawmakers to pass that non-binding resolution suggesting that all foreign forces should leave Iraqi soil. It isn't binding because the Iraqi leader, the current Iraqi leader, is just a caretaker leader, and it's understood that he does not yet have the authority to put that into law. However, it shows that the Iraqi government is not happy with what has happened on their soil. They say it is an infringement of Iraqi sovereignty. The US, however, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was speaking on all the political shows here in Washington earlier today, saying that he believes that the Iraqi people would like the US troops to stay because he says that they understand the kind of good work they are doing in trying to combat the Islamic State. However, so there is a difference there. The Trump administration suggesting that US troops will stay, and you heard there that Donald Trump himself suggesting that if they try to expel American troops, then the US will put sanctions on the Iraqis.
Absolutely, indeed. And also give us a sense as to how this story is playing out within the United States itself. The Democrats are quite opposed to what Donald Trump has done in terms of having carrying out this taking down of Qasem Soleimani. So how is all of this playing out within the United States, considering that this is also an election year? And Donald Trump, all through his campaigning days back in 2016, he had said that his focus was the United States. The United States should not be a policeman of the Middle East. There was no necessity for the United States to get involved in these bloody and costly wars of the Middle East. He wanted to pull out from there. He did, to an extent, in Syria. But now there is greater levels of engagement by the United States under Donald Trump. This is a clear reversal of his policy.
Absolutely, and his Democratic opponents have made that very clear, that they say, you know, he has completely done an about-turn on what he promised during his campaign in 2016 when he was standing to become president. As you say, he said he thought it was meddling in the Middle East should be over and done with. He's now saying that he did not get us into this mess. He's blaming the fact that the US is in Iraq on previous administrations, and he's saying he now just has to deal with the situation he's been given. But certainly that very kind of act of aggression by launching that airstrike, which killed this very, very high-up Iranian general, has made people question whether he really does mean what he says when he says he doesn't want to be involved in the Middle East. There are other critics of President Trump who are suggesting that this is very good timing because he is, as we know, he has just been impeached. He is due to sit for a Senate trial, and there are many of his critics who suggest that this is an excellent diversion for political pundits, the media and the general public away from that impeachment proceedings.
I think that's a very important point. Could this be a kind of a smokescreen to take attention away from the impeachment proceedings that are underway? He's already been impeached at the Congress. He awaits a trial in the Senate. Now, lastly, just before I let you go, you know, the fact of the matter is this is an election year in the United States. How far do you think Donald Trump is willing to risk a full-blown conflict, a new conflict right now, considering that this is an election year and any conflict in the Middle East will immediately make the crude prices go up?
It's very hard to know with this president what he will do. I think everybody was taken by surprise that he committed this act of aggression in the first place. It's very hard to know what his next move will be. Certainly, from what we've heard that he's been saying to reporters on board Air Force One when he was returning from Florida back to Washington just an hour or so ago, he still seems very aggressive. His rhetoric is very, very strong. And it doesn't appear to be, he doesn't appear to be in the mood to appease things. However, as you say, an election year, I think the answer is he will do what he thinks the electorate wants him to do. Is that a war? Often presidents feel that a war makes them look strong and maybe therefore more electable. But also the downside of that, as you say, is what effect it could have on oil prices. And also, if American lives are lost, will that play in with his approval ratings amongst the general public here in the US?
Absolutely, indeed. That is something that we'll have to look for. Thank you very much indeed, Kate Fisher, for joining us from Washington, D.C. and getting us all those insights in terms of what is happening there.